The stage is set in the heart of the expansive Kronos Empire, where the solitary figure of Roman stands as a defiant force against the encroaching Kronos soldiers. Count Fabius, a prominent figure in the empire, watches in disbelief as Roman takes on the soldiers with unparalleled determination. Amidst the chaos, a messenger urgently approaches Count Fabius, bearing news of a perilous situation unfolding at the rear. Frustration etches Count Fabius's face as he commands the soldier to prioritize dealing with Roman, convinced that once Roman is subdued, the Kronos forces can swiftly address the looming threat at the rear. Little does Count Fabius know that Roman, sensing an opportunity, is already making his way towards him. As Roman advances, a sudden shift in the narrative unfolds. Gustavo, a seasoned commander and the leader of the 10th Night Squad of Kronos, emerges to thwart Roman's progress. Gustavo's reputation precedes him, ranked 78th in the continent and 35th within Kronos. His presence alone signifies the seriousness of the situation. The clash begins, with Gustavo utilizing his aura to create an impenetrable barrier, attempting to halt Roman's advance. Roman, however, seems undeterred. A momentary pause ensues as both warriors assess each other. Roman, recognizing Gustavo's strength, prepares for what promises to be a fierce confrontation. Gustavo, embodying the essence of a skilled knight, leaps into the air, brandishing his aura-infused sword. The battle unfolds with breathtaking intensity as Gustavo delivers a flurry of strikes, each imbued with the power of his aura. Roman, armed with his sword, defends against the onslaught with remarkable skill and agility. In a surprising turn of events, two Kronos soldiers attempt a sneak attack from behind, seeking to exploit a potential vulnerability in Roman's defense. To their dismay, Roman, in a display of incredible reflexes, spins around and swiftly dispatches the assailants with a single sweeping motion of his sword. The seamless transition from defense to offense leaves both soldiers incapacitated at Roman's feet. Gustavo, witnessing Roman's mastery over the situation, is taken aback by the resilience and skill displayed. The coordinated efforts of the Kronos soldiers, even under the command of a seasoned knight like Gustavo, prove insufficient to overpower Roman. In that moment, Gustavo recognizes the true threat that Roman Dimitry poses, a force to be reckoned with, more formidable than he had initially estimated. As the battle intensifies, Gustavo contemplates drastic measures. A growing sense of urgency grips him, and he entertains the idea of employing forbidden magic. The gravity of the situation prompts Gustavo to place his hand on his stomach, a precursor to tapping into a well of power that transcends conventional combat techniques. Roman, observing Gustavo's peculiar actions, senses that something extraordinary is unfolding. The air around Gustavo shimmers with a distinctive yellow aura, signaling the deployment of innate energy. Innate energy, the life force one is naturally endowed with, remains beyond artificial accumulation. Roman's exhaustive studies across the continent unveiled no known method to harness this inherent power. The encounter with Gustavo, had it occurred a year prior, would have posed a grave threat. Gustavo's strikes aimed at Roman with full force, yet Roman deftly parried each blow, leaving Gustavo astonished by his skill. Employing the celestial evil technique, Roman executed the middle stage of the 3-second stance, swiftly incapacitating Gustavo with a single precise strike. A dense cloud of smoke erupted, a testament to Roman Dimitri's overwhelming might, leaving Kronos soldiers dumbfounded at their commander's defeat. Roman pressed forward, dislodging Count Fabius from his horse with a forceful kick. Count Fabius, sprawled on the ground, questioned Roman's audacity, reminding him of Count Parchus's esteemed status within the empire. Even amid the chaos of war, Count Fabius cautioned Roman about the repercussions of harming a noble of the empire, warning of a life forever shadowed by the empire's assassins. Undaunted, Roman asserted his awareness of the risks, silencing Count Fabius and sealing his fate. With resolute determination, Roman swiftly subdued Count Parchus as well, cementing his dominance over the battlefield. Meanwhile, in the rear lines, soldiers watched in awe as smoke billowed from the heart of the Kronos forces. Chris, radiating confidence, reassured Count Vanderberg, dispelling his fears of an impending catastrophe. Count Vanderberg, initially skeptical of Chris's assurance, noticed a green signal hovering in the sky, a beacon of Roman's triumph. The scene shifted to the opulent halls of the Cairo royal palace, where a soldier delivered pivotal news to King Daniel. Roman Dimitry had achieved a decisive victory over the Kronos forces in the Western Front. King Daniel's face lit up with a radiant smile as he received the news, his heart swelling with pride and relief. Without delay, he summoned Count Vanderburg via magical communication to glean further details. With a solemn tone, Count Vanderburg relayed the recent events in the Western Front. He recounted how, alongside Roman, they had successfully neutralized Count Fabius, a prominent Kronos commander, and apprehended the remaining Kronos troops. Curiosity piqued, King Daniel inquired about the toll on Cairo. Count Vanderburg's response painted a picture of minimal losses, attributed to Roman's strategic prowess and tactical brilliance. The king couldn't help but marvel at Roman's dedication and effectiveness on the battlefield, realizing that Roman had exceeded expectations and played a pivotal role in securing Cairo's safety. With a newfound sense of confidence, King Daniel resolved to handle negotiations with the Kronos Empire meticulously. He understood the delicate balance of power and the importance of diplomatic finesse in such turbulent times. Concerned about the well-being of Kronos Empire prisoners, King Daniel instructed his staff to ensure their safety, adamant about resolving the conflict without further bloodshed. The workers swiftly mobilized, heeding the king's orders with unwavering diligence. Meanwhile, on the Western Plains, Baron Noel approached Roman with humility and contrition. He bowed respectfully, expressing regret for his previous opposition to Roman's plans. Grateful for Roman's leadership and courage, Baron Noel sought to extend his apologies and gratitude. Roman, recognizing the sincerity in Baron Noel's words, acknowledged him as a man of integrity and honor. Despite accepting Baron Noel's apology, Roman imparted a crucial lesson on the dangers of blind trust in the chaos of battle. He emphasized the importance of diverse perspectives and opposing viewpoints in making informed decisions. Roman assured Baron Noel that his dissent had been necessary and valuable, fostering a deeper understanding between them. Baron Noel, moved by Roman's wisdom and generosity, shared news of Cairo's success in securing Kronos prisoners. He anticipated that this triumph would strengthen Cairo's position in negotiations with the empire. However, Roman remained cautious, foreseeing challenges ahead. Drawing from his experiences and keen insight into the empire's motives, Roman voiced skepticism about the likelihood of fruitful negotiations. In Roman's eyes, the empire's history of aggression and expansionism suggested that negotiations would be fraught with difficulty. He warned Baron Noel of the empire's probable insistence on unreasonable demands, especially in retaliation for the recent attack. In the intricate dance of international conflicts, the initial reasons for warfare may hold sway, but ultimately, it is the raw exercise of power that dictates outcomes. Roman's words cut through the tension, highlighting the stark reality that now faces the empire. The fact that a comparatively smaller entity like Cairo has managed to defeat Kronos sends shockwaves through the ranks. Baron Noel, visibly shaken, turns to Roman seeking guidance on the next steps for Cairo. With measured resolve, Roman elucidates that to forge ahead, Cairo must confront the aftermath head-on. To retreat now would only invite further repercussions, so Cairo must brace itself for the next battleground, negotiation. Meanwhile, in the chambers of the Cairo kingdom, Baron Charlton, a key figure in the Kronos foreign ministry, engages in a magical dialogue with King Daniel. Charlton, speaking with the weight of the empire behind him, lays out Kronos' stance. He explains that Kronos' incursion into Cairo was instigated at the behest of Duke Benedict. However, with the fall of Benedict, Kronos had signaled its intention by withdrawing its forces. The actions taken by Cairo, however, exceeded the bounds of self-defense. The ruthless elimination of Count Fabius and Commander Gustavo, both esteemed figures in Kronos, painted a grim picture. King Daniel, while acknowledging Cairo's engagement in war, questions the morality of such brutal reprisals. Charlton, conceding the wrongful nature of Cairo's actions, demands recompense on behalf of the empire. Yet, Daniel swiftly counters, reminding Charlton of Kronos' initial aggression. If fairness is to be discussed, Daniel implies, it must begin with an acknowledgement of Kronos' initial transgressions. He warns Charlton that Cairo will not shy away from international scrutiny should Kronos refuse to engage in reasonable discourse. Baron Charlton addressed King Daniel with a solemn tone, advising him to act as he pleased regarding the Cairo situation. Though acknowledging that Cairo might be holding prisoners, Baron Charlton made it clear that Kronos would not entertain negotiations. Instead, he presented King Daniel with a consequential choice. Roman Dimitry must sever one of his arms. Baron Charlton suggested that if Roman personally arrived at the empire, offering his arm and kneeling in apology, the empire would cease pursuing the matter. The revelation left King Daniel in a state of shock, grappling with the gravity of the decision before him. Baron Charlton, undeterred, emphasized that should Cairo refuse, it would escalate into a full-scale war between the two powers. Setting a 10-day deadline, Baron Charlton urged King Daniel to declare his stance within that time frame. Frustrated and contemplating the potential weakness of Cairo that subjected it to such humiliation, King Daniel found himself at a crossroads, with the fate of his kingdom hanging in the balance. As the magical call concluded, Count Vintner approached, bearing news that intensified the gravity of the predicament. Kronos' empire, it seemed, had shifted its focus to Roman Dimitry, deeming him a potential future threat. King Daniel, however, staunchly defended Roman, emphasizing his heroic stature and the deep loyalty he commanded among Cairo's citizens. The implicit threat against Roman struck a chord with the king, prompting a decisive course of action. In response to the unfolding crisis, King Daniel wasted no time. He ordered his workers to summon Roman immediately, recognizing the urgency of a direct discussion with the valiant warrior. The fate of Cairo hung in the balance, and King Daniel sought Roman's counsel on navigating the treacherous waters of Kronos' demands. 2 days later, as Roman stood before King Daniel, the gravity of the situation weighed heavily in the air. The king recounted the details of the Kronos negotiations, exposing the harsh realities of the ultimatum presented by Baron Charlton. With a sense of shared concern, King Daniel turned to Roman, seeking guidance on the next steps. Roman, his gaze unwavering, advised against accepting Kronos' proposal, highlighting the inevitable consequence of Cairo becoming a vassal state. Instead, he proposed a bold move, his personal journey to the empire to confront the issue head-on. The suggestion to send him as Cairo's envoy carried both a sense of determination and sacrifice. However, King Daniel hesitated, recognizing the dangers that awaited Roman in the heart of the empire. Kronos sought punishment for him, and in the worst-case scenario, Roman's life could be at stake. A palpable tension filled the room as the fate of Cairo hung in the balance. Count Parchus, seizing the moment, stepped forward with a thoughtful suggestion. Acknowledging the risks of sending Roman directly into the lion's den, he proposed an alternative. Someone capable of conveying Cairo's stance effectively could be dispatched to negotiate with Kronos, sparing Roman from the immediate threat. As preparations for the envoy to the empire unfolded, King Daniel confronted Count Parchus with a critical decision. The king questioned whether Count Parchus was proposing to become the envoy himself. Count Parchus affirmed this proposition, expressing his readiness to represent Cairo and convey its stance to the formidable Kronos Empire. In considering Count Parchus for this pivotal role, King Daniel pondered the potential of this unexpected turn. Perhaps, he mused, Count Parchus was the right person for the task. Count Parchus, a prominent political figure in Cairo, possessed the acumen to read complex situations and make decisive decisions, a trait evident even during the time of Benedict. The fact that Count Parchus had aligned himself with Roman further underscored the authenticity of his capabilities. However, King Daniel, ever concerned for the safety of his subjects, voiced his apprehension. Entering the Kronos Empire held inherent risks, and the king queried whether Count Parchus was prepared to face such dangers. Count Parchus, with unwavering determination, assured King Daniel that he would exert every effort to execute the mission flawlessly. Turning to Roman for his perspective, King Daniel sought the warrior's opinion on this critical matter. The scene shifted to a corridor where Roman and Count Parchus traversed the corridors together. Roman, curious about Count Parchus's motivation, turned to him and inquired about the purpose behind volunteering as an envoy. Roman was keen to understand Count Parchus's aspirations and intentions in undertaking such a significant responsibility. Count Parchus's declaration to Roman was nothing short of candid. He acknowledged the inherent skepticism Roman might harbor towards a defector like himself. Yet, Count Parchus pledged his allegiance to Roman with unwavering determination. He made a solemn promise, asserting his desire to dedicate his life to serving Roman from that moment forth. Count Parchus saw the diplomatic mission as an opportunity to prove his loyalty, urging Roman to view his choice as a step towards cementing their bond. In his straightforward manner, Count Parchus made it clear that he didn't expect to be treated as one of Roman's trusted advisors. Instead, he sought to be utilized in a manner that would benefit Roman's interests. Count Parchus expressed a willingness to go to any lengths to live a life of power, wealth, and honor by Roman's side. His proposition was astonishingly frank, laying bare his ambitions and desires without reservation. Roman, initially taken aback by Count Parchus's candidness, couldn't help but feel a sense of admiration for the man's boldness. Count Parchus's request to be accepted as one of Roman's inner circle was a bold move, demonstrating a keen understanding of their lord-vassal relationship. Roman's smirk revealed his appreciation for Count Parchus's clarity of thought and purpose. Without hesitation, Roman accepted Count Parchus into his fold, assuring him that he would enjoy all the privileges and benefits that came with being one of Roman's trusted confidants. A few days later, as Count Parchus embarked on the diplomatic mission to Cairo, he found himself confronted by a family member's skepticism in a forest. The family member couldn't comprehend how Count Parchus could betray those he once served and still manage to survive. In response, Count Parchus offered a philosophical perspective on the nature of betrayal. He explained that there was a certain allure to betrayal, particularly when it involved aligning oneself with those in power. Count Parchus believed in serving alongside those who made bold sacrifices, even if it meant going against the hesitations of loyal subjects. To him, loyalty wasn't blind adherence, but rather a strategic alignment with those who had the power to shape destinies. The conversation between the man and Count Parchus took a reflective turn. The man suggested that strategically keeping defectors close and utilizing them could be advantageous. Count Parchus concurred, recognizing the potential benefits of seizing such an opportunity. He acknowledged that accepting a defector could be justified if it presented a chance to gain an upper hand. However, with a dismissive wave, Count Parchus halted the discussion, signaling an end to the lecture. Inwardly, Count Parchus contemplated his life as a defector. He admitted that living a life of betrayal was not something he enjoyed. He had chosen this path because he believed there was no one worthy of his unwavering loyalty. Yet, a flicker of amusement crossed his features as he considered the possibility that Roman Dimitry might be the exception to this rule. The scene shifted to the grandeur of the imperial capital, Alexander, where Count Parchus found himself in awe of the magnificence of the empire's castle. Led by a soldier, he observed the emblem on the soldier's armor shoulder, noting the remarkable spirit exuded despite the soldier belonging to the 7th Knight Order, a testament to his strength surpassing that of Count Nicholas. Approaching the door of the emperor's chamber, Count Parchus felt a wave of trepidation wash over him. As the door swung open, he felt as though he was stepping into a realm beyond mortal reach. Standing before the emperor, Count Parchus was acutely aware of the gravity of the situation. He knew that a single misstep could have dire consequences. As Count Parchus's gaze met the formidable figure of the Emperor of the Kronos Empire, a weighty silence descended upon the room. The Emperor, his presence commanding, directed his attention towards Count Parchus, inquiring if he was indeed Roman Dimitry. Caught off guard by the intensity of the moment, Count Parchus found it difficult to draw a steady breath, let alone form coherent words. Just as Count Parchus gathered his thoughts to respond, the soldier accompanying him acted forcefully, pushing his face to the ground. The Emperor, recognizing him as Roman Dimitry, confirmed the expectation that Roman was to present himself and offer his arm personally. Expressing understanding of Cairo's stance, the Emperor wasted no time in delivering a decisive blow. He ordered Count Parchus to be taken down and declared war against Cairo. The weight of the Emperor's words hung heavy in the air, casting a shadow over the room. In a desperate attempt to avert disaster, Count Parchus raised his voice, vehemently protesting that Cairo did not seek an all-out war. Count Parchus, displaying a bold front, humbly requested permission to address the Emperor of Kronos. He proposed that he would speak first and then willingly face any consequences the Emperor deemed appropriate. The Emperor, intrigued by this audacious move, cautioned Count Parchus to be mindful of his words, as failure to convince him might lead to dire outcomes. With this weighty understanding, Count Parchus embarked on a delicate speech, aiming to convey the legitimacy of Cairo's position while maintaining the dignity of both parties. Choosing his words meticulously, Count Parchus navigated the complex terrain of diplomacy. He asserted that the Kronos Empire's intervention in the civil strife lacked sufficient justification, emphasizing that 5 kingdoms, excluding Valhalla, stood in support of Cairo's stance. This assertion was not made lightly, as it carried the weight of multiple nations behind it. The scene then transitioned to a night where Roman shared strategic insights with Count Parchus. Roman foresaw that while an alliance with 6 kingdoms might secure victory in a frontal war, the real challenge lay in the aftermath, particularly in dealing with potential hostilities from Valhalla. Roman advised Count Parchus to highlight this concern, as it represented the most prudent choice for Cairo. Returning to the present, Count Parchus reiterated Cairo's pursuit of peace. He conveyed that if, under these circumstances, Kronos still desired war, the Emperor could take action against him. Surprisingly, the Emperor acknowledged the rationale presented by Count Parchus. In exchange for the release of Kronos prisoners, he agreed to temporarily overlook the matter. However, the treatment of Roman Dimitry remained a separate issue. The emperor declared that an assassin would target Roman each night as a form of retribution for the deaths of Kronos soldiers. This revelation left Count Parchus stunned, prompting a cascade of questions within his mind. Did the Emperor of Kronos harbor a hidden desire for an all-out war with Cairo from the outset? The Emperor of Kronos had a clear agenda: to push Cairo into a corner by using the leverage of Roman Dimitry to secure the release of Kronos prisoners, thereby restoring the empire's prestige. This calculated move aimed to assert Kronos' dominance and regain lost ground on the political stage. The emperor emphasized to Count Parchus that such tactics would no longer be effective in the future, indicating a shift in strategy towards more direct and forceful approaches. Upon hearing this, Count Parchus couldn't help but feel a sense of disappointment. He had hoped to demonstrate his capabilities but realized that his efforts had fallen short. The realization dawned on him that the emperor's intentions had been far more complex than he initially perceived. The scene then shifted to Roman's office, where Count Parchus sought forgiveness for his perceived failure. To his surprise, Roman commended Count Parchus for his efforts, assuring him that he had done well despite the difficult circumstances. Count Parchus, taken aback by Roman's response, questioned whether Roman had anticipated the outcome. In response, Roman explained that Kronos had always been singularly focused on Roman, and that the threats against him were to be expected. Concerned for Roman's safety, Count Parchus inquired if Roman would be all right. Roman reassured him that he would handle the situation himself and advised Count Parchus not to worry. Gazing out of the window, Roman contemplated the perennial specter of assassination that seemed to weave itself seamlessly into Baek Joong-Hyuk's existence. In the recesses of his thoughts, Roman mused, pondering which agents of the Kronos Empire the emperor would dispatch this time to carry out their ominous agenda.